So this is a bit of an Inkscape tutorial demo, I suppose. So last night I was watching a World War II documentary, and they had a very interesting card that they displayed. Or at least it was interesting to me when they went to the adverts. It's effectively like a poster, I suppose. But to me, I looked at it and I thought, I could do that in Inkscape. So that's what I'm doing. This is actually the second time I've created it. The first time I created it for my own benefit, and then I thought I should recreate that for the purposes of a video. So that's what I'm doing. So I've just set the size of my page to 2400 pixels by 2400. That's basically the size I like to work with. Shouldn't need that dialogue anymore. So the first thing I'm going to do is name this layer. I'm going to call that background, and I'm going to give it a background colour. Start by drawing a rectangle over the top of everything, and this is going to be like a sky background, so I need to find an appropriate colour for that. A hue of blue. Not sure, perhaps the lighter shade would be better. Okay, so I've got no stroke, that's right, just got a pale blue fill. Okay, so let's lock that, and I'm going to turn it invisible as well, because we don't need that. We've set the background, that's all we need to do for that. Now, one of the main features of this poster was that it was looking up at the sky, and there was clouds taking up a good portion of the screen. So that's what I'm going to work on now. So I'll create a new layer. It's the only active layer. And I want to draw circles to make clouds. Obviously my fill colour is wrong. So let's change that. Clouds need to be white. And while we're working on this, I want a stroke colour. So yeah, we'll default to black. That's good. So let's get rid of that, and hold down the control key when you draw a circle, and it makes it into a circle as opposed to an oval. So let's start drawing some circles, which when combined together, I've actually drawn these. I want to draw them further up here. Doesn't matter that I've drawn some that don't count. Let's make some small ones. See, now there's the problem. I wasn't holding down the control key. So what I'm interested in is this top line. Does this look a bit like a cloud? At the moment, no. So it kind of looks like a line of clouds. The edge of a cloud, perhaps. But I also want to block out this whole bottom section. So let's grab the line drawing tool and just draw a line through here, like that as well. And now let's switch back to the main cursor and select all of these objects. And we'll turn them into a single group, which means we can edit them all as one thing. So now all those shapes are one thing. So if I now go to fill, I can change them all to fill with red. So they're treated as one object, but I want them to fill with white. I also want to turn off the stroke for the moment as well. Okay, so we can't see the cloud now, but if I turn the background layer back on, you can see the edge of the cloud now. So I'll turn that back off, and I'm going to lock... Actually, I think while we're still working on it, I'll turn the stroke back on so we've got a better idea of what's going to go, but I'll lock this layer. Now the next feature I want to do is don't know how to describe it. It was like rays, sunshine rays, but obviously not sunshine rays. They were just put there to give the impression of dimension, of speed. So it's probably easier to show you than explain, to be honest. So let's start a new layer. I'll call this rays. And we'll have it in front for the moment, but the rays need to go behind the cloud, so I'll do that in a second. So let's make a ray. So let's start with my drawing tool. We'll start at the bottom. Actually, that looks like the scale's going to be wrong. Need to make it a bit bigger, so it's much bigger than the background it's going to be overlaid on top of. I think it's a bit wide as well, so let's shrink it down, try and get this bit in the middle. That's it. Now I want it filled with, let's just go for a grey colour for now. I think that'll do. So if I switch to object mode here and click on it, it switches to rotate mode, and that means I can now move the point around which it will rotate. So I want to move this down to the point because I need to make a few of these at slightly different angles. So I've moved the rotation point not quite right. Oops. Let's grab that rotation point. There we go. Let's get it down there. Okay, so if I now click and hold the handle here, it rotates around that point. So let's move it over here. Let's say that's going to be our first one. Okay, so select it, Control C to copy, Control V to paste another one. Let's click on it to rotate. And rotate the angle a bit. Click on it again to switch back to move, and let's join it back into the same place. I suppose these also give the impression of perhaps searchlights. That might be what they were aiming for. So let's select both of these together. Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and click on them and rotate together. So click on it and let's move it down. Well, there we go, it'll align slightly. So if I click on it again, I can rotate these. I should be able to rotate them. There's something very strange happening here. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there, so let's just try this one. Let's rotate this. What's going on there? Let's perhaps move this one out of the way and see if this works. Don't know what's going on there. It's misbehaving. It's got to be because it's overlaying these others. Let's just see, that's the wrong angle, so let's rotate it back a bit. It needs to go a little bit further to the right. Yeah, I think that'll do. Now let's bring this one in and rotate it a bit further. Okay, so I think that's fairly good. So let's switch back to selection mode and let's group these four as one thing. So object, group. Oh, I haven't selected all four. Hang on, let's get that. There. Object and group. Click on it and now I should be able to rotate them as a group. There we go. So now let's move it over here. Remember, this will end up behind the clouds. So let's put it there. And let's just move this down a bit. Give ourselves a bigger window here. And let's move this layer down. So it's now behind the clouds. I think the colour's a bit dark, to be honest, but there's a neat trick I want to do for that. So I've got it selected. I'm going to do the gradient tool here. I'm going to click here and drag the other end down here, and you can already see what's happening. The gradient tool moves between two shades. So I kind of like that range of colour. Have to keep in mind it's only where this frame, that's the only bit that's going to show in the final image. That frame, not all this extraneous stuff that goes around the outside. Switch back to the pointer. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Yeah, I like that. I was just thinking about it there. So let's lock the rays for now. Let's turn on the background colour. So those rays sort of fade into the colour. That's fairly good. Alright, let's hide that. Now another feature that this poster I saw on the documentary had was some aircraft to give it that proper World War II feel. So I went looking on the internet and I found this Mosquito plane. Yeah, it was created in an older version, so let me just drag this over here so you can see it. So you can see it just created an SVG image, it's just that plane. So I'm going to... if I was professional, this wouldn't have happened. Okay, so I'm going to click on the plane, Control C to copy it. Now come back to my image. Let's add a new layer. We'll call this planes. Yep. And we'll do a Control V now to paste the plane on here. Now the angle of this plane is wrong. But I want to shrink it down a bit actually as well, because the size of it is too much. I want to get 3 of these on here, so I'm just going to shrink it down to about the size I want. There we go. So I'll just move it over there, do Control C and then Control V to create a copy of it, and another Control V. So we've now got 3 planes slightly offset. Okay, so select them and drag them into position. I'm going to hit the plus key to zoom in here, because I want these planes to be rotated to kind of follow these rays that are here. So let's click on the first one, click it again to rotate, point it straight up there. Oops, click on it. Let's click here. Yeah, I want the object. There we go. Click again to rotate. So it's going to be a slightly different angle to the middle plane, because I want them to lean out and follow these lines on screen. So let's click over here as well. Click again to rotate. This one will be more obviously different because the angle's slightly more. I could follow that line exactly, but then it looks like it's not part of the same formation, so I just need to angle it off slightly. Zoom out with the minus key. It's not quite right. Plus key to zoom in. I think it needs another bit of angle. Just a tilt. Still doesn't look right. I think those background rays are making it quite difficult, so it's now obviously a different angle. There, I'm much happier with that now. Yeah, I think that looks better. The problem is I'm quite good at copying, but I'm not a really good designer. I can't draw stuff from scratch very well. But I can take other people's ideas and massage them. I feel stronger in that realm. Okay, so let's just lock those planes into position now, and let's add the next layer, which is going to be some text. Next layer goes on top, so I'll click the text tool, click here, type D-day, new line, 6th of June. I can't see that, so I'll do Control A to select all the text, and then change the size of the font to 144. And I'll click the center align. There we go. Let's go. Whoops. Control Z to undo. Right. Switch back to the pointers. I tried to zoom in by pressing plus, but because I was in the text editing tool, it edited the text to a plus. Again, I would have seen that coming if I was more of a professional. Right, so this font doesn't look very D-Day-ish. So select the editing tool, click in there, select Control A to select all the text, and now let's have a look through the fonts here. I've got a lot of fonts. Need something that looks a little bit 1940s or a little bit military. I think I've got... Oh, it was there. Where's it gone? Up a bit, up a bit, up a bit. Call of Duty. There we go. That's a nice military looking font. Okay, switch back to just the click so I can resize this. So I can now resize this to where I want. And I'm going to click on it to rotate it. Again, to try and make it a little bit more interesting by having it at an angle. And also, again, align with this central direction of bottom right to top left. Okay, so I'll hit minus again to zoom out. So that looks pretty big text on there, that's good. Alright, so let's start bringing everything together. Let's lock that text into position. Let's bring the background back into play. Let's switch to clouds, unlock it. Yeah, so if I click on the clouds, let's get rid of that stroke so that we don't see these outlines anymore. Stroke, none. That's kind of okay, I think. To be honest, I think for a better cloud image here, I should have used fewer and bigger circles with just a few little ones to make bumps in the line. But I think that works quite well. But I need to add more to this. It looks very bland, this cloud. It also doesn't pop, it doesn't stand out at all. So I'm going to use filters and shadows and glows, and we can do a drop shadow. Click live preview to update it, and so you can see it's put a shadow around my cloud. We can do all kinds of things with this. Make it a faint but wide shadow, or a smaller shadow but more definite. Oh my goodness, a solid line. No, I don't like that. We can play with the offset as well, which I don't like, to be honest. Let's put it back where it was. Let's apply that and zoom out and see what that looks like. I think that's okay. Let's just go with that for now. It could be improved, I think, but let's export this. So I'll go to Page, and we shall export to a particular folder. Stuff to keep. Inkscape. Let's call the file World War II poster. And let's click export. So it's now writing that into that folder. Bear with me a second while I go open it. Open with paint.net, which is another tool I use. Let's just see what the final image looks like and see whether I've missed any bits. Come on, paint.net, you can open quicker than this. Here we go. Okay, and control and mouse wheel to zoom out a bit. And that's the poster. Now, there's a lot more you could do to this if you wanted. You could have, as I say, better shaped clouds. You could have multiple layers of clouds. You could even have some actual searchlights. You could turn these grey bars into searchlights if you wanted. You could have an air battle going on even, but this was relatively quick, relatively straightforward, and you can always find things to improve. One of the best skills in drawing is knowing when to stop. Knowing when it's good enough to do the job that you want and step away. But that looks pretty good. That's it. See you later.